But there seemed no reason to fear. The shadow of the raft was clearly outlined upon the surface of the waves. Truly this sea is of infinite width. It must be as wide as the Mediterranean or the Atlantic, and why not? My uncle took sounding several times. He tied the heaviest of our pickaxes to a long rope which he let down 200 fathoms. No bottom yet, and we had some difficulty in hauling up our plummet. But when the pick was shipped again, Hans pointed out on its surface deep prints as if it had been violently compressed between two hard bodies. I looked at the hunter. "Tander," said he. I could not understand him, and turned to my uncle who was entirely absorbed in his calculations. I had rather not disturb him while he is quiet. I returned to the Icelander. He by a snapping motion of his jaws conveys his ideas to me. "Teeth!" I cried, considering the iron bar with more attention. "Yes, indeed, those are the marks of teeth imprinted upon the metal." The jaws which they are must be possessed of amazing strength. Is there some monster beneath us belonging to the extinct races, more voracious than the shark, more fearful in vastness than the whale? I could not take my eyes off this indented iron bar. Surely will my last night's dream be realized? These thoughts agitated me all day, and my imagination scarcely calmed down after several hours' sleep. Monday, August 17th. I am trying to recall the peculiar instincts of the monsters of the pre-Adamite world, who, coming next in succession after the mollusks, the crustaceans and the fishes, preceded the animals of mammalian race upon the earth. The world then belonged to reptiles. Those monsters held the mastery in the seas of the secondary period. They possessed a perfect organization, gigantic proportions, prodigious strength. The saurians of our day, the alligators and the crocodiles, are but feeble reproductions of their forefathers of primitive ages. I shudder as I recall these monsters to my remembrance. No human eye has ever beheld them living. They burdened this earth 1,000 ages before man appeared, but their fossil remains, found in the argillaceous limestone called by the English the lias, have enabled their colossal structure to be perfectly built up again and anatomically ascertained. I saw at the Hamburg Museum the skeleton of one of these creatures 30 feet in length. Am I then fated, I, a denizen of Earth, to be placed face to face with these representatives of long extinct families? No, surely it cannot be. Yet the deep marks of conical teeth upon the iron pick are certainly those of the crocodile. My eyes are fearfully bent upon the sea. I dread to see one of these monsters darting forth from its submarine caverns. I suppose Professor Liedenbrock was of my opinion too, and even shared my fears, for after having examined the pick, his eyes traversed the ocean from side to side. What a very bad notion that was of his, I thought to myself, to take soundings just here. He has disturbed some monstrous beast in its remote den, and if we are not attacked on our voyage. I look at our guns and see that they are all right. My uncle notices it, and looks on approvingly. Already widely disturbed regions on the surface of the water indicate some commotion below. The danger is approaching. We must be on the lookout. Tuesday, August 18th. Evening came, or rather the time came when sleep weighs down the weary eyelids, for there is no night here, and the ceaseless light wearies the eyes with its persistency just as if we were sailing under an Arctic sun. Hans was at the helm. During his watch I slept. 2 hours afterwards a terrible shock awoke me. The raft was heaved up on a watery mountain and pitched down again, at a distance of 20 fathoms. What is the matter? Shouted my uncle. Have we struck land? Hans pointed with his finger at a dark mass 600 yards away, rising and falling alternately with heavy plunges. I looked and cried. It is an enormous porpoise. Yes, replied my uncle, and there is a sea lizard of vast size. And farther on a monstrous crocodile. Look at its vast jaws and its rows of teeth. It is diving down. There's a whale, cried the professor. I can see its great fins. See how he is throwing out air and water through his blowers. And in fact 2 liquid columns were rising to a considerable height above the sea. We stood amazed, thunderstruck, at the presence of such a herd of marine monsters. They were of supernatural dimensions, the smallest of them would have crunched our raft, crew and all, at one snap of its huge jaws. Hans wants to tack to get away from this dangerous neighborhood, but he sees on the other hand enemies not less terrible, a tortoise 40 feet long, and a serpent of 30, lifting its fearful head and gleaming eyes above the flood.